Hey, good morning. I hope you're doing well. Now, the rates themselves are where they were this time last week, but if you notice, the discount fee that it was taking to get them for high credit buyers last week is back to about zero, give or take. Uh, you're going to pay discount to get 6.625 if you're rocking a 640 credit score, not an 800 or a 780 or something like that. So this is a high credit buyers right here. But we're back to middle sixes conventional, lower sixes FHA, VA, USDA, no discount. And remember the VA goes to $1.5 million. That's no down payment on a $1.5 million house. No down payment, no mortgage insurance. Great rates on those things too. The investment property loan that I was showing you last week is still at 7.25%, no discount. That's using bank statements instead of pay stubs and W 2s and stuff like that. So, what's going on? Not a whole lot, but lots being talked about. The 10-year Treasury is improving. Mortgage rates follow the 10-year Treasury yield a lot more than they do movement in the Fed funds rate. This is promising for mortgage rates. Jobless claims, home sales numbers coming in later this week. The Federal Reserve rate cut announcement is July 30th. How they talk about what they do is just as important as what they do. I kind of feel like he's going to cave because now they're trying to get him on building renovations and stuff like that. So I don't think he will quit his post. I think the Fed Board of Governors who vote on this will, I don't know, probably think for a quarter to a half point rate cut. That's going to help credit cards, big investment loans, building skyscraper loans, credit cards, things like that, refinancing our national debt, things like that. But the thought by the Fed was this tariff stuff is going to cause inflation. And you could read the numbers both ways, but here's how I read the numbers. This is the Consumer Price Index. This is the Consumer Price Index for the months of May and June. This last month, last 2 months here, May and June. The zero point 0.1 number means that in May, the cost of goods and services as evaluated by that metric went up 0.1%. That's below what would add up to 2% inflation. Because you add the most recent 12 months up, all those point whatevers, the Fed wants to see it at 2% or lower. Now in June, we got a reading of zero point 0.3, which was expected, not really terrible. It wasn't as bad as some people thought. It's no zero point 0.1, but the problem is that it could be said that year over year inflation went up a good bit because as we look back, we take out the numbers from 2024. We take out that May and that June. So we take those numbers out, add these numbers in. Well, here's where we were. In 2024, we had a zero reading for May and a negative zero point 0.1 for June. Outlandishly low inflation numbers. So, yeah, you take those numbers out and you throw in anything higher, and you're going to be able to have headlines that say inflation is spiking, but it's really not because the other things, the producer price index, the other measures of inflation are very tame right now and suggest uh, it's time to start, reducing the Fed funds rate. I think we've seen uh, the worst that these tariffs can do. Are they ever going to even happen? I don't know, but we can help the consumer, I think, out quite a bit by doing that. So that is my revisiting of the consumer price index to you. Not that big of a deal. And thank you so much. Have a good day.